The views and opinions expressed by the guests and contributors on Conklin and Company are not necessarily those of 13 ABC. Now, Conklin and Company continues with Take 3, commentary and analysis from our panel of political contributors.
Welcome back, everyone. Take 3 now with Tom Troy of the Toledo Blade, and we just get done talking about the weather and its impact on everyone this year, Tom, and also its impact on the election process going forward. The filing deadline to get into elections pushed back this past week.
Right. Of course, everybody was supposed to have filed on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. We had a level 3 storm here in Lucas County. They never closed the elections office, which resulted in some questioning about whether they actually had to delay the filing deadline. But I think the advice from the prosecutor was that they did have to delay it one day because we had a level 3 storm. People were subject to arrest if they traveled upon the highways and byways.
Yeah, only the plows were out, unless you were essential personnel. Let's go to the fact that there was some controversy as it was developing over who would run against Anita Lopez. And as we tape here on Friday, we're not exactly sure where this is going to go. But the bottom line is there was a challenger, and still could be. We're not, once again, taping on Friday afternoon, but some controversy there.
Right. Well, there's a number of ways to get on the ballot, but the most common way, and the way it happens 99.9% of the time, is you file in the partisan primary, which is what the filing was this past week. And a gentleman named John Navarre, who is a commercial appraiser in Anita Lopez's office, filed for the Republican nomination to run for auditor. So he was going to run from in her office, and he was seen as a good candidate because he's got knowledge about.
Didn't sit well with her.
No. And but she knew the law better than he himself did, I think. And the law says that you cannot be a civil service employee and engage in partisan politics.
A partisan election, right?
It is a partisan. Now you could run for a city of Toledo office because it's technically nonpartisan. Running for state and county office are partisan offices because you're running as a Republican, you're running as a Democrat. So the advice coming from the prosecutor's office to Anita Lopez is that this employee of hers is not permitted to run. Now, he was checking it out with lawyers. It'll be interesting to see if there's any way around what looks like a pretty categorical prohibition on him running.
Yeah. So as we speak, he may no longer be a candidate.
He may not be a candidate, which leaves Anita Lopez with a free shot at re-election, which might surprise a lot of people given how badly she stumbled and fell running for mayor last year. There was some thought that she'd be so weakened that
vulnerable
politically.
Yeah. Well, once again, we'll watch that going forward. Also, what we do know, there are challengers for Carol Contrada's county commission seat going forward. Kevin Haddad, familiar name there, and we have some other candidates as well.
Right. Now, Kevin Haddad ran last year for county commissioner as an independent, and he found that it's very hard to get any traction as an independent. And so he's back this year. He's running for, trying again for county commissioner as a Republican. Also running as a Republican is Ben Roberts. And if you are a close student of elections in Toledo, you know that at one time Ben Roberts was the director of the Board of Elections. But I think he's more of a placeholder. That's another one of these little rules they have. He's a placeholder of the Republican Party. If he were to withdraw at some time, the Republican Party could put somebody else in.
Yeah.
There's also a Democrat who has put his name in, Michael Hood. He's a Spencer Township trustee. So Carol Contrada has Democratic and Republican opposition in her re-election bid.
And barely won in her race with George Taranto, who went to a recount and
famously controversial. She lost on election night, but when the provisional ballots were added, those went to her overwhelmingly, and she ended up winning by 193 votes.
Are we at 4 years already?
Has it been that long?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable where the time goes. You don't look any older, by the way, Tom.
Neither do you.
Of course not. Jack Ford, we mentioned familiar names, city councilman, once again, former mayor, councilman before that, state representative, and we heard about him being mentioned as a possible running mate for Todd Portune, but that's not going to happen either.
Well, they both like each other a lot. They met for the first time just about a week ago. Todd Portune, he's a Hamilton County Commissioner. He was seriously thinking of running against Ed Fitzgerald for the Democratic nomination because there are people in the Democratic Party who are not fully enamored of Fitzgerald. He's still shoring up his base. Portune was thinking of running. He reached out to Jack Ford Not quite sure why. I have a couple ideas, but in any case, the two of them got together, but they both agreed it was too late to try to mount a serious campaign. I interviewed Jack Ford about it. He had developed a very rapid appreciation for Portune. He thinks he has a lot of compassion. Both of them have had serious medical issues that have affected them. And Jack jokingly said that they should win the recovery community pretty handily, but they decided not to run.
And a lot of people would say, Jack Ford, you need to stay in council. You were just elected to council.
Right.
Once again. You mentioned Fitzgerald, that people felt, well, he's not the strongest candidate yet going forward. Isn't that the rub here? That some people believe that he can't beat John Kasich because there's not enough traction going forward. Had a bad choice of running mates early on, and that there's no mojo in Fitzgerald's campaign.
Well, there's just been obstacle after obstacle. The most recent, and it's being written about in the Blade today, is the fact that he's not getting support from all of the construction trade union community. There's an organization that was formed by the State Construction Trades Council to lobby government, and that organization gave Kasich, the Republican, $12,500, which is the maximum. So in a sense, they've thrown in with Kasich, whereas being unions, the expectation from the Democratic Party was that they could count on all the unions to strongly support Fitzgerald because of Kasich's, you remember issue 2, Senate Bill 5 a couple of years ago. The thinking was that how could a union support Kasich? But they feel like they can educate Kasich a little bit. They feel like he's not going to back right to work. There's a lot of things going on, and it's not all good for Fitzgerald.
We're just getting started, though.
That's right.
Political year of 2014. Tom Troy, as always, thanks very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Take 3, and that will do it for this edition of Conklin and Company. We'll see you all next week on 13 ABC Action News and next Sunday at 11 right here for Conklin and Company. Take care, everyone, and stay warm. See you later.